Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's a big, large, cavernous space. We're relatively few, but one way to make this big space feel smaller is by filling it with our voices. And so we're going to join this whole evening with song and music. And so we'll continue.
And the only words you need to know are Ha-Shalom, the peace. Let's say Ha-Shalom.
Ha-Shalom.
Aleichem.
Alechem.
To you, to all of you. And then Aleichem.
Alechem.
Ha-Shalom.
Ha-Shalom.
To you, to all of you, the peace. And it goes like this. Ha-Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Ha-Shalom. Ha-Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Ha-Shalom. Ha-Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Ha-Shalom. Ha-Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Ha-Shalom. Let's try the whole thing. Ha-Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Ha-Shalom. 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 Ha-Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Ha-Shalom.
So in addition to filling this beautiful space with our voices, we're going to fill it with our love and all of the community that we are going to be forming together. So I especially enjoy these summer Shabbatot because there are no B'nai Mitzvah, so we get to celebrate the everyday simchas that happen in our community. So we're going to invite anyone now who has something that they are marking or have marked this past week, something significant, happy, whatever milestone it is for you. Please join us at the table to light the candles and bring in Shabbat.
Ya la 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 lehadlik ner. Ya la 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 lehadlik ner. Ya la 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 lehadlik ner. Shel Shabbat.
What are you marking this week?
Our granddaughter Tegan is visiting from LA and she finished her JCC camp today.
Oh my goodness, her granddaughter Tegan is visiting from Los Angeles and finished her JCC camp today. We're so happy to have you with us. Yes, what are you marking today?
This is we lost our dad and husband last Sunday, and so we're here tonight.
They are marking the loss of her husband this past week, and so they're marking the first time they'll be saying Kaddish together as a community, and we're all here to help stand with you and lift you up tonight.
How about over here?
I'm celebrating my first week as a rabbi here.
Oh my goodness, Rabbi Madeline Budman starting as rabbi educator here at Congregation Emanu-El. Mazel tov.
Koach.
We're very excited to have her on our team. So let's have you guys light the candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you.
להדליק נר, יאללה לה לה לה, להדליק נר, יאללה לה לה לה, להדליק נר של שבת.
So I'll add a simcha to this mix, which is that I myself just got married less than 2 weeks ago.
Mazal
I
tov.
think, yeah. And the last time I was in the sanctuary and we did Lecha Dodi, which we're going to sing next, my now husband, just want to paint a picture for you, entered through those back doors during Lecha Dodi at the part where we bowed towards the Sabbath bride and entered in full drag in a wedding dress. So that's the Shabbat spirit that we're trying to conjure this Shabbat. And so we'll join on page 20 for Lecha Dodi.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, אני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, אני שבת נקבלה. שמור וספור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו
seated. Right before services began, Rabbi Westrick and I were remarking that it's been a few weeks since we were with this community in prayer for Shabbat, and it is just so wonderful to be back in this space surrounded by this beautiful music. Cantor Addie, can you introduce our musicians tonight?
Oh, we're so blessed to have all of you with us. Cullen Maria and Jonathan Ferris, Wade Peterson and Dan Zimmelman. And thank you a million times for everything you bring to us. We're so grateful to you.
We are going to continue praying together with Shalom Alechem on page 24.
And this is a melody that I learned around my Shabbat table growing up. And I think one of the first Shabbat services that I led here, I brought it to this congregation, and now we sing it somewhat regularly. And so this brings me back to my Shabbat table. I hope it brings you someplace nice like that as well.
Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Borechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'chuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitkhem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
I think we should join together in an English reading on page 27 as we move in from Kabbalat Shabbat to Ma'ariv, the center of our prayers this evening. Let's join together in the middle of the page. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Continue with Baruch Hu, our call to prayer on page 28. Please rise.
Yeah.
be seated. So this week, our Torah portion is Parshat Hukat, which basically means laws. And as you can imagine, for a Torah portion like that, there's a lot of things in it if it's named laws. So I decided tonight to do a few chunks of teaching instead of one big sermon. There was just too much to deal with. So we're going to be doing a few chunks of learning together. So, in this Parsha, Hukat, from the book of Numbers, it continues the narrative of the Israelites in the desert as they're approaching the Promised Land. And they encounter many, many enemies along the way on this journey. One verse, Numbers 21:14, which talks about this trek, states, "Therefore, the book of wars Adonai speaks of this phrase, et vahev besofa." It's the final phrase that the Sefaria, this website that Rabbi Westrick and I both like looking up phrases on, says the quotation that follows is a fragment. It's a text, and meaning are unknown because it has been lost to time. Usually, when you see something like that, it's just translated kind of like phonetically. So a lot of places translate it as Waheb in Sofa, a random location that is never mentioned again in the Torah. So we really have no idea if that's a location or if it's an idea. I was really struck by the teaching of one of my classmates, Rabbi Alex Kress, who's at Camp Newman right now with Cantor Luck, which proposes a different way of seeing this mysterious phrase of one of the Israelites' final destinations in the desert. Talmud Kiddushin 30b teaches that Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz says that Vaheb, the first half of that, is related to the word love, ahava, and besofa is related to besof, in the end. So in other words, this phrase, et vaheb besofa, can be interpreted, instead of a random location that we don't know if it exists, to mean in the end, there was love. So under this school of thought, instead of recounting one of the final destinations, what if et vaheb besofa is a reminder of the self-work that we each need to do before we can reach our own promised lands metaphorically? Instead of fighting battles at different locations along the way, what if our final destination is a state of being, a state of love? In the end, there was love, a time of overflowing covenantal love in which we lift up our fellow human beings' dignity and integrity. Especially at times like we are at in our world, it's a really powerful reminder for all of us. So in that spirit, we are going to continue with a prayer all about love, called Kamti, which is on page 350.
Sorry, that page is
nope,
wrong.
the page is wrong.
Yeah, page is wrong. But may it be so.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah. And the words, I'll teach you the English part. It's because it's easier to join on. It says, I will open to you, my beloved. Will you open to me? I will open to you, my beloved. Will you open to me? Come ani liftoach ledodi.
We're somewhere in the middle of our service tonight, and so as we turn to Shema on page 34 and 35, the instruction here is to go inward and close your eyes and listen. Shema is that word that means listen. And the invitation is to listen not only to what's around us, who's around you, what's around you, but what's going on up here and in here.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל נפשך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אלוהיכם אמת.
Tonight when we sing Mi Chamocha on page 40, let's think about Miriam. Miriam, the prophetess, the sibling of Moses and Aaron, who burst out into song after crossing the Red Sea with these very words in the book of Exodus. In this week's Parsha, Miriam dies. And so by singing Mi Chamocha, we are paying tribute to her memory and the music and the song that she brought to all of us.
I don't know if you knew that Miriam was a water diviner. Diviner? Is that the way you say it? Diviner. Diviner. She was a divine diviner. Water. She found the water for them as they traveled. Yamma, yamma, yayo. Yamma, yamma, yayo. Yamma, yamma, yayo. Yamma, yamma, my, my. Yamma, yamma, yayo. Yamma, yamma, yayo. Yamma, yamma, yayo. Yamma, yamma, my, my.
of our service, we now take a moment to send prayers of healing to all of those in our lives and on our minds who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. Tonight, as a congregation, we are especially praying for the healing of Rusty Holden, Patrick Powell, Peter Joslow, Liz McMahon, Shireen Zalis Waldman, Jay Henneberry, Will Burson, Carolyn Brown, and Phyllis Lawfer. If there's another person who is on your mind whose name you would like to lift up for prayers of healing this evening, please share their name with our community as my tallis passes over you. El Na Rafana Lanu, may God heal all of us who are in need of healing.
El na refana la, el na refana la, el na refana la, refua shleima. El na refana la, el na refana la.
We continue on the top of page 44 with Vishamru. We get to sing our hearts out about this gift that we get to enjoy called Shabbat.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
So, back in our Torah portion, Numbers 20, one of the first chapters in this book, begins with 5 words describing the Israelites coming together as a community. It reads, Vayavo'u v'nei Yisrael kol ha'edah. All of the children of Israel, the entire community. At first, that seems like a pretty boring phrase that you would expect to appear many, many times in the Torah, describing the Israelite community. These same words are just repeated again in Numbers 22 after Miriam's death, like Rabbi Westerreich just talked about. But they're actually the only 2 times in the Torah that this phrase, V'nei Yisrael kol ha'edah, appears in that order. Usually, when the Torah describes the Israelites, it's slightly different. The order is inversed. Instead of Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, Kol Ha'edah, all of the community, it said Kol Edat Bnei Yisrael, kind of shoved together in a phrase, all the children of Israel community. In that phrasing, it's smichut, which Cantor Adim often talks about, where two things are pushed together, kind of like the Hebrew version of compound words. But in our Torah portion, the Torah goes the extra mile to separate these two phrases, the children of Israel and all of the community. The phrase is repetitive, and Everett Fox translates the phrase as the children of Israel, entire community, which is also repetitive. Whenever the Torah repeats something that's duplicative, the rabbis find a lot of meaning within the words. Medieval commentator Rashi suggests that the arrangement of these words in our Torah portion this week is to emphasize that this community, in its entirety, this generation, is who is going to enter the promised land, not the generations that have come before. He asserts that this group of people represents a new generation worthy of entering Israel, a generation who Rashi describes as clinging to God and behaving differently than prior generations. What's the difference in the behavior? Accountability. In Numbers 21, we see something new for the Israelites. In past chapters in the Torah, we see the Israelites complain about the lack of food or the lack of water, and we then see them take account. In this Torah portion, we see them take accountability for their complaints and change their actions. After complaining in Numbers 21, they come back to Moses and say, "We sinned by speaking against God and against you. Please help us." And this is actually a first. Usually the Israelites just complain and then Moses intervenes for them. But in this instance, the Israelites speak up themselves. As Beth Ellen Young teaches, this is the first time they act in this way, taking responsibility for their actions and acknowledging that they themselves have erred. They don't try to bend the truth or to blame others. They admit they make a mistake. They come directly to the source that they sinned against, a sign of growth and maturity. So as we prepare for our Amidah tonight, the core tefillah that we are about to pray together, I hope that we can take a cue from the Israelites in this week's Torah portion. And as we pray, take a few moments to think about our own accountability and our own responsibility. Think back to where you have made errors and make a plan to, like the Israelites in this week's Torah portion, do things a bit differently. We're going to rise together for the Amidah on page 46.
Adonai, sefatai tiftach, ufi yagid et hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elokei avoteinu v'imotzeinu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Elokei Sarah, Elokei Rivka, Elokei Rachel, Elokei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Chanura, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Avot V'imachot Umevii Geula Livnei Vneichem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chaim Vechem. תומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחייך הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please take a moment to continue to pray and reflect silently. When you have finished your personal meditation, you may be seated.
למען אחי ורעי, למען אחי ורעי, אדברה נא, אדברה נא, שלום לך. למען בית השם אלוהינו, אבק שטוב לך. למען בית השם אלוהינו, אבק שטוב לך. Because of my brothers and friends, because of my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me say peace to you. Because of my brothers and friends, because of my brothers and friends, sisters, because of my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me ask, please let me say peace to you. This is the house of the one I wish the best for you. This is the house of
Chukat, our Torah portion, begins with the law of the red heifer. Has anyone heard of this law before? Probably heard of red heifers before, but not necessarily this law for good reason. Because the para aduma, the red heifer, is judged to be the most incomprehensible law in the Torah. The rabbis debated it, and they decided this law for this week's Torah portion is the one that makes the least sense of all. It has become the classic example of a chok, that chukat, a statute, which we often understand as a law with no reason, that no one can understand in modern times. Other chukim, like this law, are things like the prohibition against mixing wool and linen. Doesn't really make sense. Why can't you plant two different types of grain in different parts of the same field? According to the Torah, you can't. We don't really get it today. The red heifer ritual itself is designed to allegedly purify a person who has just had contact with the dead. The ritual involves taking a red, unblemished cow that has never worked and ritually sacrificing it in a very intricate and specific way with ashes and with water. The red heifer is slaughtered, its body and blood are burned in a fire with specific woods and plants in that fire, and the ashes that remain are then burned, after that burning, are used to mix with water and create a paste that is then sprinkled on the person who has come in contact with the dead that will somehow purify them. Taken at its surface, it doesn't make any sense at all. It appears to have no connection to its purpose. I have no idea why a red cow in particular would be burned with certain woods, and that would mean purification. So needless to say, this is one of those laws of the Torah that we no longer practice and have not practiced in quite a number of centuries and millennia. When the ritual is introduced in the Torah even acknowledges in our Torah portion that it doesn't make sense. The Torah says, Zot chukat haTorah, which roughly translates as, this is the most choky chok of the Torah, the law with the least amount of reason that we are going to give you out of these 613 commandments. The rabbis have a lot of different opinions about why we have this law. Some claim that we simply are not capable of understanding the logic behind this whole category of laws. But they make sense to God. They can't make sense to human beings. We don't have that level of understanding, but God gets them. These rabbis say that God would never command anything without reason or purpose, and that we can't aspire to have that level of understanding. God is God, and we are humans, so we should not let these laws bother us. Just, okay, cool, God understands them, we don't have to. Others claim that these laws actually did used to have rational purposes, but they no longer do. We just have lost the reason behind them to historical context. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks asserts a totally new way of explaining these laws, and especially the law of the red heifer that we encountered this week. In his view, chukim are commands deliberately intended to bypass the rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, and hit a different part of our soul. The root of chok, or chukim, is chet kuf kuf, which also means engraving, to engrave onto something. And Rabbi Sacks believes that this whole category of chukim, these rituals, like the red heifer, are intended to cut beneath the surface of our minds, to dig into our subconscious, and to help us cope with the uncopable in ways that we can't understand, to help us heal from trauma that we experience that we just can't put into words and for which there is no explanation. In modern times, we don't practice the red heifer ritual, nor can we understand its meaning, but we do have the ability to understand what it might mean to bypass our prefrontal cortex and let something engrave in our souls. So, taking away from this week's Torah portion, the next time that you feel like you've encountered something that takes your breath away, that is too difficult to understand, like those individuals who got purified through the red heifer and just encountered the dead, I encourage you to try to find your own red heifer ritual. Turn off your rational brain. Ignore it entirely. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? What do I need to cope with something that is simply not copable? The answer may seem silly or self-indulgent or surprising or just make no sense, like the red heifer, but I encourage you to try and listen to your gut and to see what it tells you and what that results in. Drive to the beach, put on that song you loved in high school, order an indulgent meal, start knitting, whatever it is your soul tells you to do in that moment, for whatever reason or lack thereof, give it a try. Ignore how others would perceive this self-guided, self-created ritual. Suspend your own judgment about it. What you do doesn't have to or should not make sense outside of that moment, just like the red heifer, to anybody or yourself. That's the essence of this red heifer ritual, and it's often what grief and encountering these horrible things, the most primal rendering of our soul, demands of us. It's only by giving ourselves the space in the ritual that we need in these difficult moments to process tragedy that we all too often experience that we're able to move forward and begin thinking about how to repair the pain that we see around us and to lead with love, like our Torah portion teaches us.
Shukar. We continue with the singing of Aleinu on page 282. Aleinu, it's upon us. Please rise.
Aleinu, Aleinu, Aleinu.
God and God of our ancestors, it's upon us this Shabbat to learn, to be in community, to struggle, to smile, to hope, to cry. It's upon us to attempt to hold all of these truths at once. We turn now to Mourner's Kaddish on page 292. In recent days, members of our community are saying Kaddish for Rick Gurman and Richard Levenberg. We're in a period of Shloshim, 30 days of mourning, for Tiffany Hamilton, Janet Guggenheim, Sue Ann Schiff, Martha Ozer, Veronica Fields, and Barbara Lapchick. If you're here saying Kaddish for one of these names, I invite you to rise at this time. On this Shabbat in years past, we are reciting the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death for the following individuals, members of our community. Jack Andrewitz, Clara Arkulevich, Felice Baum, Hazel Belfer, Sally Berger, Elsie Davis Bly, Eliza Leah Cody, Clara Cohen, Herbert A. Cohen, William Arthur Kolsky, Alice Essman, Wesley Fastiff, Pearl Franzblau, Mary Lee Fudernick, Michael Goldstein, Philip Graham, Celia Haas, Henry Haas, Shirley K. Harris, Inbar Heller, Barry Jasper, Shirley Kreisman, Stanley Lax, Betty Alice Lichtman, Melvin Howard Lichtman, Greta Livingston, Sally D. Livingston, Melville Mack, Donald Magnin, Helen Marsh, Ida Miller, Eleanor Brisker Mindle, Mia M. Mitchell, Eileen K. Nairn, John Norton, Jewel Roach, Beatrice Alva Rogers, Shirley Roseler, Leo Samuel Sachs, Helen Salazar, Stella Salazar, Rosetta Sampson, Robert Schwartz, Gasa Sklar, Daniel Scott, Joe Seiger, Aaron Silver, Aaron D. Smith, Helen Sperling, Lawrence Stein, Lee Stein, Paul M. Steinberg, Dan Stoltzfus, Michael C. Winetsky, Michael Baer Euclid, and Mark Zerbjevsky. If you're here saying Kaddish for one of these yard sites, I invite you to rise in place. And if there's someone for whom you're saying Kaddish tonight and their name was not on this list, I invite you to rise and say their names out loud. And as one community in support of our mourners, we rise and recite these hallowed words of Kaddish on page 292. 94, excuse me. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayichon u'vyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush v'chata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May all their memories bring so much blessing to our lives.
Let's turn to page 321 for the final verse of Adon Olam.
My soul I give to you, my spirit in your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your arms. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Safely in your hands.
Be'yado afkid ruchi ve'et isham ve'ayra ve'im ruchi keviati Adonai li ve'lo ira ve'im ruchi keviati Adonai li ve'lo ira be'yado afkid ruchi be'yado afkid ruchi ve'et ishan ve'ayra ve'et ishan ve'ayra ve'im ruchi keviati ve'im ruchi keviati Adonai li ve'lo ira will not fear ve'im ruchi keviati Adonai li ve'lo ira.
My soul I give to you,
always, our handout is filled with lots of exciting announcements. We have a big event at the for the SF Marin Food Bank tomorrow at St. John's. We just resettled a second Ukrainian family that we're welcoming into the San Francisco Bay Area. But by far, our most exciting announcement is we have two new clergy team members who I'm going to surprise by inviting them to come up and join us on the Bima to help us as a full clergy team with Kiddush and with Motzi. We saw Rabbi Madeline Budman at the beginning, and we also have Rabbi Rena Singer joining us, and we are so grateful to have filled out our team all together.
Kiddush can be found on page 5 in your prayer books. And by the way, bring those prayer books out with you when you leave. Please join us.
Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kosho v'ahava u'b'ratzon inchilanu, zikaron l'ma'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techilah למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה הנחתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים. And again, a special thank you to all of our musicians. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Kola Marie and Jonathan Ferris, Wade Peterson, and Dan Zimmelman. Thank you.
And let's make one big chain towards the challah. You can reach out to it or grab hands. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Please take your prayer books out of the sanctuary with you. We look forward to seeing you at Shabbat again soon.